What's up, YouTube? Gonna be calling some people today. Let's go ahead and call Nathan. He is actually a member of the course, so this will be fun. He had a question actually via email, and I'm like, hey man, I think you got on part of the 10 random callers that I'm calling. So let's go ahead and give Nathan a call. Get the podcast. We actually want to record this. Yeah, here we go. Check. 1 2 2 2 2 2. All right, we're good. Here we go. Where's his number? All right, cool. See if we can get this.
Hello, this is Nathan.
Nathan, how's it going? This is Mike Andes with Business Bootcamp Podcast.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. Do you have a minute?
Yeah, I do.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, it was funny because I got your email yesterday, and then I already had seen that you were drawn as one of the 10 random calls, so that's cool.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I was just going through the standardized pricing list, and I've been having a problem with, like, some of my fall cleanups and kind of bidding them incorrectly for the amount of time that they take, and so I wanted to, like, get that standardized pricing down so that I could find out what works and what doesn't.
Right. Okay, well, here, let me pull up actually what we're looking... Do you have it in front of you or probably not?
I'm getting there.
Okay, I'm going to try to pull it up too. Standardized... Because we just put up a new one, so that's probably the one you're talking about, I'm guessing. Here we go, standardized pricing list. Perfect. Got it. All right, I'm looking at what you're looking at here in about 2 seconds. So yeah, like for fall cleanups, like the one thing we can't do as far as standardization is essentially tell you how long something is going to take, right? So part of it is experience, like just knowing, okay, like, hey, there's so much property with so many leaves or so many trees. It's going to take you kind of generally, a quarter day or a half day. What the quarter and half and full day kind of thing kind of break it makes it a little bit easier as far as instead of trying to figure out, is this going to take 3 or 4 hours, you can just determine if it's going to take a quarter day or a half day. So it kind of like it makes your pricing actually a little bit less accurate, but it also makes it a lot simpler for making the estimate, just because what I mean by accurate is there might be a job that takes 4 hours, but you charge almost the same thing as if it takes 5 hours, just because you charge half a day. But yeah, like, so are you, when you say you're kind of inaccurate right now on pricing, are you saying like some jobs you're losing, some jobs you're making more?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the biggest thing is, like, because I don't have that standardized pricing, I'll charge 2 different customers that'll take me the same amount of time. I'll charge them 2 completely different prices.
Right.
And so because I didn't have that system down of, like, okay, this is going to take a half a day, so I'm charging them X amount. And I'm even okay, like, the way I figure is sometimes it would come out to be where one job I might charge them both the same amount for a half day, but one job might take me 2 hours, and one job might take me 4 hours, where I might make more money on one job but a little less on another, and it would kind of balance itself out eventually.
Right. Like, just out of curiosity, what's your hourly rate that you kind of target for when you're doing those per man hour?
$50 an hour.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, so like for a half day, you're probably charging almost $500. Is that right? For a crew of 2? Or are you like $450 or something like that? Okay. So like right now when you show up, do you tell them your price when you're there, or do you kind of like leave and then send them an email with the estimate?
So I've been telling them when I'm there, and I think that's part of the problem as well, because I get what you're saying about not giving the price there, and I agree with that, and I think that's a good way to go, because I feel too pressured to give them a price right then and there to get the job, and then I end up either underbidding or overbidding, and it kind of has an opposite effect.
Right, but like I understand why you would do it too, to be honest with you, Nathan. Like when I first started, I was like, I was under the impression like, you know what, they're in front of me. I just want to get a yes. And so I know where you're coming from as far as like giving them a price. The thing is, when we're using standardized pricing and we know exactly what we want to charge, for on their side, it's gonna feel like we're making it up almost, right? Like if you're just like, oh, it's gonna cost $4.99, they're gonna be like, okay, where did he get that number from? Where like we know that's our our half day's worth of work, but on their end, number one, it's a little bit weird, and then on our end, sometimes you don't have time, like the 2 or 3 minutes, just to kind of think about the specifics of the job. For instance, like it might be the same size property, but do they have a whole bunch of trees that when you're doing the blowing, it's gonna get caught up in all the bushes, and you're gonna have to end up pulling them out by hand. Little stuff like that. That if you could just sit in your truck or sit at the office and kind of think about for a second, you'd probably pick up on those little things instead of when they're kind of like standing right there and you're kind of crunching a number in your head and you're like, okay, well maybe we could go to a quarter day instead of a half day, things like that, right? So sometimes it goes both ways. Like, obviously for us it's better because we get a couple more minutes to think about the job. Really, it is just like that couple minutes that it just takes to think about the little the nuances of a job that would make it more or less profitable. And then for them though, I think this is what I had to get over, is it's actually better for the customer, because when you have standardized pricing and you know exactly what you want to charge, it's weird for them when you just kind of like all of a sudden you're pulling a round number out of your head. Or even if you write down like, okay, half day plus an 8-foot bed pickup truck, a dump run to the dump, that's a 99, it's gonna take me an hour. Like, even if you do those numbers really quick in your head and give them a number, it just feels weird for them. So that's why I changed, but I totally get why you would want to do it in person. Like, I did it for my first year because I was like, I don't want to be afraid of asking for the sale, and I want to have them say yes while I'm there and not have like 2 or 3 days of emailing back and forth and stuff, right? So I understand though. I get it. Like, but it's a little bit of a learning curve going from doing it in person to when you just literally. What's cool about it though, Nathan, though, is you can kind of use the close of, hey, I'm gonna go back to the office and they'll send you an estimate. Like, I don't know how exactly you're set up with your business right now, and we can talk about it if you want. But like, it makes a nice way of like saying, hey, I'm going to go back to the office and they'll send you an estimate within, you can say like 2 hours. And literally you can get in your truck, create the estimate, email it to them through Lawn Pro or whatever. And then on their end, they're thinking, hey, like this company has their communication down, right? And it's going to come off really professional that, hey, the estimator came out, he got to the office sent it back to me, they had the exact notes that we talked about. And so I know at first it kind of seems like you're not tricking them, but it just seems like maybe not you're super honest about it. But eventually that's where you're going to get anyways as you grow. And so even now, like when I do an estimate, I am actually sending the estimate to the office, and then they are sending the estimate to the client. However, that's the exact same words I used when I was the guy that was making the estimate and sending it to them. I said, hey, I'm going to get back to the office. They'll get back to you within a couple hours. And it seemed like honestly, to be perfectly honest, Nathan, I don't think it helps your closing ratio, but I think it helps the amount of value, and you can charge more when you do that, because when you are making the numbers up, in their mind, you're making it up on the spot. It just doesn't seem like you offer the value that a full-fledged, full-service company with an office might have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they don't need to necessarily know that I'm the one that's doing everything.
Exactly.
They could think that I have a whole staff behind me that they don't even see, which can add value as well.
Exactly. Totally. And I think just with, like, how long have you been in business now, Nathan?
I just did my first season.
Yeah, so, like, really, like, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much over the fact that there's some jobs that you're losing more or making more. Like, honestly, like, I've done this for 9 years, so I have it down a little bit more. But, like, your first year, if you're already working on standardized pricing and being, like, you're on the course and, like you're way ahead of the game, to be honest with you. Like, I didn't start standardized pricing until a few years ago. So, like, I spun my wheels for 6 years in literally making things up on the spot. and kind of just giving numbers in my head. And so, like, you're ahead of the game, and so I wouldn't beat yourself up too much because you're going to get experience as far as looking at a job and knowing exactly how long it's going to take. Like, even for mowing, now I can look at a job and down to within a minute or two variance know exactly how long it's going to take. For like a standard lawn just to mow it. But like I couldn't do that when I first started. So really don't beat yourself up too much because it's going to come with just experience and being able to see the jobs. And that's why like even your first year, it's not a bad thing if you don't have an office and you don't have a bunch of crew members because you'll actually do the work yourself and get to know exactly how long things take. And so for instance, like I mentioned, when you do a leaf cleanup, yes, you're looking at how big the property is, how many leaves there are, but you're also looking at like when you blow the leaves, are you going to be hitting other trees? Because like that can slow you down big time because then you have to pick them up by hand. Even as far as like which direction are you going to be blowing the leaves out? Because if the wind's coming from a certain way, like all those things will come with time. So I wouldn't beat yourself up too much, but you're definitely in the right direction trying to standardize it.
Perfect. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like spinning my wheels a little bit because I feel like I'm a little bit further ahead as far as my knowledge of how to run a business versus my technical knowledge of the business. I feel like I'm kind of trying to catch up.
I get it. Yeah, like that's the side you want to err on though, like to be perfectly honest with you, Nathan, because like with the podcast and stuff, I'm with contact dozens of business owners each week and with the course and stuff, and 90% of the ones that are failing are the people who are so good at what they do but they don't know the business aspect. Like if I was to choose an entrepreneur to invest in or like bet on, I would bet on the people who got the business aspect down and then they'll figure out the technical aspect, right? Like even especially in our business, right? Like what we're doing isn't rocket science, and so I wouldn't stress out too much about like seriously, if you know the business aspect and you're confident in that's really where I think in our industry, when so many people are so good at horticulture and tree trimming and fertilization, but they can't talk to people correctly, don't know how to estimate jobs, they don't know how to run a business or create websites, like that's what's going to set you apart. So like that's not a negative, I don't think. You'll learn the other part with time, and honestly you can YouTube things on like tree care and things like that. And that is part of the reason though, like in February we're loading up the video course for training. So like we're going to go over fertilization, what NPK, like nitrogen, phosphorus, like all that stuff stands for fertilizing, and tree care. Like we're going to go over all that because obviously part of it too is just your confidence in knowing those things. So you can, bid with confidence and even just share information with a customer that's educational, so that you appear as an expert in your field, and then that's where the value comes in. You can still charge more, right? So that's kind of why we're doing the employee training too, because it's important. Like I get it, but I wouldn't like I said, like you're ahead of the game. I wouldn't stress out about it, but I get what you're feeling, because if you're just finishing your first year, I would imagine you're probably not taking a whole lot of the company, and it kind of feels like you're probably in the slow season now, and it's like, oh my goodness, like how are we gonna make this work, right? Like how, like just out of curiosity, if you don't mind, like how much did you make in the first year net? Gross.
Gross 35,000.
Yeah, so like you're right where I was at. Like I only did 30, so like you're ahead of the game a bit. So and I know it's tough because it's easy to say, oh well, like for me to say, oh that was easy because that was my first year. But like that first year, I didn't make a single penny as far as pulling money out of the company. I lived on like nothing, just trying to get by. And so I know where you're at because you're in the slow season now, right? Like not a whole lot of work.
Yeah, well, we do have snow removal here in Salt Lake.
Oh, good.
So I'm doing a little bit of snow removal,
good.
And I'm actually still getting a lot of people calling about like fall cleanups and leaf removal. Like I'm 3 jobs back.
Okay.
Like I'm just waiting for the weather to be right to be able to do those.
That's awesome, man. Like really. And so like I think year 2, come spring, well, you've already established and you're already so busy, it's a great time to to take the plunge into getting someone to help you, and then you're right in track, you're right in line for year 2, like getting up, and that's when you're going to start seeing a little bit of progress, not so much in your net, but you'll start to see revenue growth, and then year 3 is when you'll really start to cash in. And so I know it feels like you're spinning your wheels. It feels like did you have a job before you started the landscape business, Nathan?
Yeah, and I was actually doing landscaping only like 2 days a week.
Oh, I gotcha.
And then a couple hours before work when I had another job.
Mm-hmm. Do you still have that job then?
Well, kind of. I mean, I quit my job because my wife is going to D.C., and so I'm staying home with the kids. So
Yep.
I would be still working at this point.
Right.
But my plans for next year, when we started up the next season, is to do it full time. And I have actually already hired someone to help me.
Awesome.
Then they start April 1st.
Yeah, man, that's totally awesome. You're literally like right where I was at. Like that's what I did. Like my first year, I was working part time just to cover my expenses. Then second year, I knew that I was gonna hire someone and then go full time myself. And that's when you really start to see the growth. So yeah, like don't get discouraged and like anything like that. Like 35, it can seem like it's nothing, and then you don't really take anything out. But like it's a start, you know. And so trust me, you're ahead of the game if you're already thinking about standardized pricing. Because what a lot of times people, when they're in their first year, they're thinking like, oh, it's just me. I can make up numbers myself. I can send the estimates myself. I don't need to like create the systems. And that's what keeps them from getting, when they do start to grow and they have 5 people that they're hiring and now they're still trying to juggle all those things, it doesn't work. And so for you to be already setting the systems...
Yeah, the thing that people don't understand is that if they start doing that now when they're by themselves, it's a whole lot easier. And when you bring people on, you already have those systems in place so that there's no adjustment. Like, you can grow so much faster if you have those systems in place already.
You got it. Yeah, totally. Anything else I can kind of, walk you through, or anything you kind of have a question about?
I don't think so. Right. Well, are you going to put up anything like a employee handbook or anything on the landscape business course?
Yep, definitely. So we're filming it right now. It's a 30-part video series on employee training. And you said April 1st your guy starts?
Yeah, April 1st.
Okay, so yeah, we'll definitely be done for then. And it'll probably be like, I'm guessing 4 to 6 hours long. It'll walk them, like your new hires, through everything from striping a lawn to fertilization techniques, aeration, thatching. It'll walk them through all of that. And then what we'll probably do is, once the video's done, we will make an actual book copy of that. So you can kind of send it home for reading for them. And just make it suit like an easy read, probably 40, 50 pager. But the videos I think will be good because on the first day they come, if they don't know anything about it, or even if they had experience, like we're gonna actually have all our guys that we currently hire, I'm gonna have them watch the entire video course, because I want everyone to be trained the same way. Because when you do it that way, it's a little more standardized than if you just like throw them with their manager and say, hey, you train them, because they're gonna train a little bit different than their other manager. And so we'll probably have everyone watch it. But yeah, we'll definitely have that for all your new employees, so you can have them. And the thing too is, Nathan, like you'll probably want to customize some of it. Like I'm going to be training everyone exactly how we do stuff, but you'll probably say like, hey, like we use a different type of mower here, or our trailer isn't set up exactly like that. But it'll be a good kind of baseline for your employees to learn a lot of the technique and theory behind fertilization, tree care, mowing, just the basic stuff. We talk about safety too. So it's kind of a good first. I kind of want it to be like the thing that you allow your employee to watch the first day they're hired, and so they get a good idea of what's expected of them and how to do a lot of the roles. Yeah,
that's perfect. That's awesome. And then I also made those changes that you suggested on my website. Still have a lot of SEO work to do, but I'm up on the second page of Google now.
Yeah. Already? What were you on before?
I couldn't even find myself before.
Dude, that's awesome. It's only been a few weeks, though, hasn't it? That's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, usually it takes a month.
I don't know how much your changes affected it, but
right.
I mean, I was doing a bunch of
SEO definitely
stuff, and I basically didn't have any SEO stuff before, so.
That's awesome. And even the thing too is, even if the the changes I made, they're the kind of smaller stuff. And I think the ones I told you were more as far as geographic, but like even like adding blog posts, making links, like those are big too. So, that kudos to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. We'll stay in touch definitely. I'll try to check in with you. Let's see here. I'll try to make a note to check in with you in May, and if I forget, just send me an email. And I want to stay in contact. Once you get someone, full time, there'll be other things that'll pop up, or just like little questions or whatever. Like, I'm here for you, and we'll stay in contact for sure.
All right, cool. Thanks. Well, I appreciate all your help and all your time.
Nathan, you're awesome. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Merry Christmas too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, bringing the fire. That was fun.